Well, hey, everybody. How's it going? It is Wednesday, July 27th, 2022. And you know what that means, Steve?
Uh, we're going to talk about mules and donkeys.
Yeah, it means that, but it also means one more thing. You want to know?
Sure.
My last Wednesday ever in my 30s.
Oh,
That's it.
no.
That's it. 40 is coming for me on Sunday. And I'll tell you what, the more people who are living in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s, the more I talk to, the more that I hear that life just gets better and better as you get older. And for that reason, I'm happy to be alive and I'm excited for my 40s. So that's
40.
that's my little thing. That's, of course, that's not for everybody else. I mean, there might be one or two people watching, but that's my special thing today. And I just felt so inclined to share it. Folks, we are so glad that you're here. My name is Dave. This is Steve Edwards. Every week we get together to talk about mules and donkeys, and today we are live. If you want, actually, I don't have a newspaper. I was going to hold up a newspaper and say, hey, we're live. This is not a recording. Of course, if you're watching after 3 o'clock Pacific Daylight Time, it's the replay. And so, as I like to do, because I'm a dad and dads do cheesy things, hello from the past. So we're so glad that you're here, spending a little bit of time with us. It sure is a lot of fun to get to meet so many of you, get to spend time with you. And Steve, one of the highlights for me, and I know it has been for you as well, since we started doing this program, we've met folks all across the world, and there have been 4 or 5 occasions over the last several years where we've actually gotten to meet those folks in real life. Of course, the one that has happened more times than not is the clinics that we've done. When we do clinics, folks say, hey, you know, Steve, I've seen you on YouTube and I've seen you on Facebook, and it sure is great to get to come out and meet you. And I'll tell you, folks, the Steve Edwards that you see on the screen is the exact Steve Edwards that you meet in real life. And that's one of the most refreshing things about the relationships that we make here on the internet. And there's a couple opportunities for folks to get to meet you in person coming up. The first one's in Montana. Steve, we're going to Montana September 3rd through 5th. We're going to be doing basics of communication, advanced basics of communication, and we're also going to be doing Why Does My Mule That, and then advanced Why Does My Mule Do That in Montana. Tickets are on sale right now, and we want folks to plan a trip to come out and see you on Labor Day. You excited for Montana? I'm sure you are.
Oh, yeah. Matter of fact, right now, I got more people coming from Idaho going to Montana than I got Montana going to Montana.
Everyone outside of Montana is looking at me like I got to get me there. And matter of fact, am I in Montana right now? I can neither confirm nor deny.
I see a big elk back there. Look at that elk.
I know. Hey, he might be there. He might be there too. So, folks, I just put a link in the comment section. We would love to have you join us in Montana. We get messages every week, sometimes every day, asking, hey, Steve, can I come out to Arizona and can you train my mule for me? Or, Steve, I got a donkey. Can I ship him out there and you go ahead and train him and send him back? And Steve does not do individual training anymore. There's lots of reasons for that. But the biggest reason is that he's able to make a greater difference with his time doing shows like this, providing videos and articles for free. That's right, F-bomb. We're taking back the F word. We're taking it back for free online, and then doing clinics like the one that's happening in Montana come the first weekend in September. So I put a link in the comment section there. Y'all can check it out. It's incredibly affordable. If you want to be a spectator, it's affordable. If you want to be a participant, it's affordable. There's limited spots for participants, and they go quickly. So make sure you get signed up. And there's a special there. If you do come as a participant, there's a special to bring additional spectators at a rate that's only for you participants. We want you to be able to bring your buddy with you. Not the fluffy buddy, although bring him. But we want you to bring your spouse or a child or a friend at a special rate. So go check that out. And then, Steve, you're also going to be traveling to Tennessee. Why don't you tell us what you're going to be doing in Tennessee?
Yeah, boy, Tennessee. Now, This is really, really special, folks. I'm telling you, special. All the money going for this American Mule Days and Bluegrass Festival is going to veterans associations to help the veterans, the men and women who serves and have served this country. The money's going to this. Now, I'll tell you a super story about this, Dave, real quick. There was a guy come in with a horse trailer, had 2 horses in it, come to the American Mule Days with 2 horses. But he was higher than a kite. He had been on meth. He's a mess, a veteran. Today, a year later, because of what these people did, you're going to get a chance to meet him there. He's now away from the drugs. He's straight, and he knows Jesus as his Lord and Savior.
That's awesome.
Oh, man.
We would love for you guys to be there. I put a link in the comment section. And, folks, even if you think maybe it's too far or whatever, y'all ought to click on it anyways and check it out. I was real impressed. You go to Steve's website, click the Get Tickets button, and that'll take you to the festival website. And at the schedule page, man, they've got a lot happening. Let me see here. They've got it all listed. No, it's on the homepage. I'll read it off here. It's so good. Wagon train ride with fish fry. So they're going to be on that wagon frying up the fish. Maybe, I don't know. Mule shows, competitions, mule and draft horse pullings, craft shows, food trucks, wagon master, chuck wagon cooking dinner, cast iron cooking competition, and tasting. I would do the tasting. Educational area for children about mules and bluegrass, mule churning ice cream, yes please, and petting zoo, pumpkin patch, cowboy demonstrations, roping activities and branding of wood, nightly bluegrass concert inside the venue, clogging and square dancing, outdoor stage for concert, and picking during the day. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Y'all can go hang out with Steve. He's going to be there. We're updating the website with the information on when and where Steve will be there. He will be presenting, but he'll also be available. I think it's Friday and Saturday. Is that, or is it Sunday too?
Yeah, and I'll be there for Cowboy Church. And
there we go.
And I'll be heading sometime out. Well, it depends on my tickets there we're looking at right now, but it's incredible, you know. It'll
be a lot of fun. Y'all get signed up for either Montana or Tennessee, or both. Get out there, and you want to, and you're looking for a reason to travel. These are the reasons, and these are very, very good reasons to do it. Let's go ahead and say
donate.
What's that?
You can donate to that veterans program.
Hey, there you go. So information, even if you're not able to make it, you can donate, and information is there on the website. Yep. It is the Freedom Sings USA charity. Go ahead, start welcoming some folks. We've got Vicky saying happy young 40th birthday. Hey, you know what, Vicky? My birthday. That gets a glockenspiel. We'll do that. Eileen is watching. Sunny, 83 degrees with a chance of rain coming. Send that chance of rain to us, Eileen. Tammy is watching, says, well, the 40s were good. So I will take that, Tammy. Thank you very much. Billy is watching from Toronto, Canada. 20 degrees Celsius. That means we've gone international. Billy, you're the first international to get the glockenspiel. Sherman is watching. Sherman Johnson's Taxidermy, Norman, Oklahoma, 102 degrees. And Steve, I have to tell you, we're talking about doing a new show, and it's going to be what Steve has to say about my mule. And so maybe we'll title it, Why Does My Mule Do That? I don't know, but we're going to do a new show on YouTube. We're working on it right now. Steve, Sherman sent over a bunch of photos, and I think he sent some videos over. First one to do it. So we're going to be taking a look. Folks, I'll put a link in the comment section here. We would love to have you send in some photos and send in some videos, and we're going to do these little 10-minute programs where Steve is going to look at the photos and the videos and just share what we can learn from that. So you get some direct insight and feedback from Steve done on video, but everyone will be able to benefit from what it is Steve is teaching you. And so Steve's very truthful, but he's very gracious. So it's a great opportunity for everyone to learn how to gain the trust of their animals and get the results in all the different areas. So thank you for sending that over, Sherman. Appreciate it. Candy is watching from Indiana. Jane is watching from Florida. 90s, love y'all. We receive that love, Sister Jane. Jackie is watching. Happy birthday, Dave. Jackie from Placitas, New Mexico. It's 80 degrees and waiting on the rain. Bring the rain. Hey, Faye is watching from Queensland, Australia, where it's cold and breezy. Polly is watching from Barnesville, Minnesota, 76 and beautiful. I had a great ride this morning. We love to hear that, Polly. Good for you getting out there. Jerry is watching from Indiana, where there is lots of rain. The weekend will be great. Camping weather. Going to cool down. Always learning something when I get on the broadcast. Thanks for all you both do. You got it, Jerry. David Pingelli, Mr. Coffee by David himself, Mr. Come Along Coffee. I'm going to Tennessee just to meet that Steve guy. See, David's got it. He knows. He's on board. That's awesome. That's going to be a lot of fun, David. Steve, I don't know if I'm going to make it, but I was looking. Tickets to Nashville are pretty good. And Shelbyville is about an hour and 10 minutes south of where my family is in Nashville. So I may look to try to make it happen. I'm not committing, but I'm going to see if I can make it work with my schedule because I would love to get out there. See, I'm trying to make it happen too, folks. Y'all can make it happen. Susan is here, and she's got our first question of the day. Susan Callahan asks, Steve, do you have any used saddles for sale? I'm looking to buy a spare saddle, but my budget is tight, trying to find a used 16-inch Steve Edwards saddle. Do you have any leads, Steve?
I don't right now. I did have a lady call me. Her husband had passed away, and she was out of mules. And it happened to be that I had a couple people call about that same time, and I put them on her. It's rare, folks, to know about them. And Susan's one of my favorite mule skinnerettes. So I wish I could find some way to tell you go. But I just don't know of any right now, Susan, but I appreciate you asking. You might keep messaging me once in a while. Actually, I don't message, email or text. Text me, and I'll keep my eyes open for you. But once in a while, something comes along, but I don't know of anything at all right now.
Yeah, I would say maybe twice a year we hear about something used. That might be at the most. Some of the Facebook groups out there, they're hit or miss. Every now and again, you might be able to find something. But the thing is, and Susan, you probably are finding this, they just hold their value really, really well. So folks will get themselves a Steve Edwards saddle, and folks are chomping at the bit to get a Steve Edwards saddle used if they ever can. If you do find one, there's a couple things to take note of. Number one, the fenders, they're going to be shaped to somebody else, so you're going to want to maybe contact Steve on the best way to get those fenders shaped for you, because you don't want to develop knee problems having used fenders that were shaped for somebody else's legs, whether it be the length or the shape or the height, whatever the case might be. And then the other thing is, if you do find one, take a bunch of pictures and send them to Steve. That way he can tell you if the saddle's been modified. What we have found once or twice is that folks will say, I've got a Steve Edwards saddle and it's wrecking my mule. And he go, well, it's not a Steve Edwards saddle if it's wrecking your mule. You go, oh no, it is. It's got your conchos. Then we take a look and we find there's been modifications done to it. And that's where the problem lies. And so if you do find one, send pictures. Steve will be happy to make sure to tell you that, hey, this one's been modified, or hey, nope, that's my saddle. That's the way I designed it. You're good to go. So thanks for the question. Cowboy Ken is watching, as always, from Connecticut, 80 degrees. I am envious. Linda the Mule Servant and Theo the Sweet One-Eyed Mule in steamy central Ohio. If I have enough airline points, I might have to come to Montana or Tennessee. Just today, oh my goodness, Steve, just today got laid off my position at the hospital as a respiratory therapist. So sad, will miss my patient. Linda, I'm so sorry to hear that. All right, folks. Linda is in rural central Ohio. She has a medical background. If you know of any opportunities, just maybe she's not looking for something, but if you know of any opportunities, reach out to Linda on Facebook. You can find her in the comment section. And man, if we could pull that off, that would be awesome. Thanks for sharing that with us, Linda. I know that's a tough thing. Really appreciate you sharing it with us. And I know I speak for Steve as well as myself. We'll say some prayers for you. Miss Backwoods says,
begging for nurses and respiratory therapists out here.
They are. That is
Yeah,
absolutely true. So,
they're begging
hey,
for them.
Arizona.
Come out
Miss
to get us.
Backwoods says, we need you to come up to Northern Maine and do a clinic. Miss Backwoods, if there's a expo up there, you tell those expo organizers that they need to get Steve Edwards up there. Of course, we'll always put a clinic together if there's enough interest in the area. So if you think there is, let us know. Reach out. We're always willing to start that conversation.
I know a secret.
You know a secret? What is that?
I'm going to be in Vermont.
Vermont, all that snow. Hey, how about that? All right.
We'll see my brother-in-law in Vermont.
So maybe. There you go. Miss Backwoods, there you go. David O'Brien, who's not in Vermont right now, he is in East Texas, 103 degrees and hot. He says, I was able to put your Surcingle and Britchin on my yearling today. I added a halter with the balin twine. She wasn't happy about it, but she did hold her head on the vertical and handled it well since it was the first time. Thank you. Steve, tell us real quick what David is talking about here.
Well, what he's doing, when you teach a mule, you teach from the nose. So when you teach from the nose, it's a twofold problem. One, it's the quickest way they learn. They learn better from their nose than they do their mouth. But number two, it can create problems because their nose is very sensitive. So therefore, that's why I adjust a halter correctly. This is the perfect place to use a halter. Otherwise, come along hitch, everywhere you go, you lead one. But the halter, as soon as you hear that baleen twine, nothing heavy, nice and light, baleen twine from the halter up to the surcingle rings and loose, and by golly, you will be in good shape. That's the best way to train. And they automatically, here's a good thing about it, they halter train themselves. You hear that? The nose got on the vertical. That means when the nose comes on the vertical, that means the knots, okay, that are on that nose, they're wanting to get away from that knot. They're wanting to get away from that knot so that it doesn't put pressure on their nostril. See, like you're right here. In this video, I have this mule set up in a surcingle. Notice how his head is down and he's balanced, framed up, okay? His head's just a teeny bit high, but not bad. But look, that's what you're looking for. Folks, this is more important than riding. Riding, you make all kinds of mistakes. This right here, when you set this mule up, you set the mule up and he makes the mistakes. He corrects himself, okay? Who's that old fat guy in there?
I don't know. I haven't seen him before.
Yeah. See that? See that, folks? Look how loose the front cinch is. Look how loose the back, the breeching is. Only thing that's important is having that surcingle so it doesn't go forward. That's what you're looking for. When you have a mule that's traveling down the trail, he's got his head down, looking at that trail. And look, it's only baling twine hooked to the halter. Folks, this is what you want to do to all your mules. There shouldn't be a mule out there that doesn't get that at least twice a week. Good thing about that, it keeps them soft. And you start your babies out that way. Look, mule training doesn't have to be rocket scientist, folks. It's not. Okay? It's really very simple. Mules are extremely intelligent as long as you treat them that way.
Very good. All right, let's keep cruising here. Let's see. Rory is watching from Southwest Ohio where it's 80 and raining. Fiona says, happy birthday. A cold 8 Celsius in Southwest Victoria, Australia. Looking for some sun. I hope that sun comes your way there, Fiona. Good to have you. Mark Williams here in Virginia enjoying some rain. I have had my Queen Valley Mule Ranch saddle for about 20 years and it's still like new. That's what we're talking about. They hold their value. They sure do. Thomas is watching from Nashville. Hey, question. My mule is starting want to try and nibble on me. He's respectful out of my space, but when I close the gap or meet him at the fence, he wants to nibble. What do we need to do here, Steve?
Well, it sounds like somebody most likely has been giving him some kind of treats. And therein lies the problem, folks. When you give treats, be prepared to get in trouble. Now, I told you the only reason I would do a treat is because I got one that's hard to catch and doesn't want to come to me. And then when I do give them a treat, okay, it's open hand and I push the treat toward them. So they have to get out of my space to get the treat. But that's only some foundational training when I have one hard to catch. It's one part of it. The other part is round pen training. So whoever is, I don't know what the past is, but something to think about. So this is what I would do. When the mule comes into my space, I kick a little dirt toward him. That makes them uncomfortable. That little bit of dirt kicks toward them, makes them uncomfortable. If they keep coming into your space, again, you don't have a bridle on, you don't have the come along rope on, you don't have a halter on. They're just coming in just a mule to see what you got to munch on or to be in your space. You can also kick them in the shin. A light little touch with the edge of your boots, good. Never whack them, okay? You whack them, you're going to start getting a head shy mule. So just inadvertently, don't make a big deal of it. As you're looking, just kind of that, bap, kick them in the shin. But as they're coming at you, kick a little dirt toward them and then walk toward their shoulder. Now, I'll tell you a little story. I was up in Minnesota for the Minnesota Zoo, and these two big Percheron horses was mucking out all the trainers. So I went up there to help them. And I said, when do you have the problem with these horses? Our biggest problem is when we're feeding. We take the feed buckets. As soon as they have the feed buckets, they come in running. And one lady says, yeah, I got a broken arm. The other one says, I got a broken toe. And when you're talking Belgian horses, these are actually Percherons, they got shoes bigger than your plates, okay? So I said, okay, that's easy to fix. And they're looking at me like, wait a minute. Here's these two animals at 2,200 pounds apiece. They're huge. I can't even see over their back. They're so big. And so I come walking in, shaking the bucket, saying, come on, come on. Everybody's thinking, this little short, fat cowboy is going to get himself mucked out. And here they come, trotting, almost 4,000 pounds on a trot. They start getting in close, and guess what I did? I kicked dirt toward them. As soon as I kicked the dirt toward them, they stopped. Well, how come that dirt moved? Charlie, why that dirt? I don't know, Zeke, but that dirt moved. And they stopped right there. I went over and poured the feed in. They went to come a little bit closer to me. I kicked toward them again with the dirt, and they looked around. Why did that dirt move? And I poured the buckets in there, turned around, walked out. You should have seen the look on those people's faces. Just something that simple. Folks, it doesn't take much to teach these animals to be respectful. So that's a couple things I would do when he comes in your space. Kick a little dirt toward him, or kick him in his shin, and do not give these animals treats. They don't need it, folks. Only thing I'm going to do is get yourself hurt.
Awesome. Next question. This one comes from Chris over on Facebook. He says, I'm going to be looking for a broke mule next year. Would like to be 14, 15 hands high. Any advice?
Yep. Education. You get yourself some books, get yourself some videos, go on YouTube, go on Facebook, wherever, and start asking for information. Start getting it, okay? And start gathering information. Don't get the mule before the cart or the saddle. Take and spend time thinking over. Listen, you wouldn't believe some of the stories that people tell on the internet. Oh, this mule has done A, B, D, 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 you know, as if there's something special. How come they only tell you about the good things, but they don't tell you about all their wrecks? They don't tell you about all the times they had a hard time picking up the foot or any other bad things. Anyway, it's another story. So here, get your education, learn how to do it. I'm not going to tell you where to go because I don't know you, the rider, and I don't know them, the mule. If I knew the rider and I know the mule, I might think about putting you together. But otherwise, get yourself some education, learn from who you want to learn from, then go out and make an honest decision. Don't go to these sales. Don't go into these sales. You'll end up being like a lot of people calls me up after these sales. I already know when the big sales are coming, and they got this problem and that problem. Just go online, look at the pictures. You don't see breechings. All you see is horse stuff. 1 cinch, no cinches. It's amazing. Anyway, give that a try.
Next question. This one comes in from one of our friends over on Facebook here, and she says, "Can you tell me how to break a mule from going after my dogs? My mule is a baby, about three, and is very aggressive to dogs. I need to get her over this if possible."
Uh, uh, Here's the thing with a dog, it's a predator. Here's the thing with a mule, it's a prey animal. They don't work together. You better have one heck of a handle on that dog. When we go out, we're working cattle, we take our dogs. I got my border collie puppy. I got Jess. Hey, Jess, what you doing? Come over here and tell us. Tell us. Okay, come up here. Here, you tell him. Yeah. Okay, I got Jess. Where's the cows? You get the cows? Okay, good boy. That'll do. So, does Jess know what to do? Yes. If I tell Jess down, you don't see it right now. Jess down, he lays down. If I say Jess sit, Jess sits. In other words, I got a handle on my dog. If I tell him to go to the right, he goes. Go to the left, he goes. Okay. Now, I can tell you that I've been lion hunting with people that have had these dogs, have had these mules, and these mules never touch these dogs. And then one day, you hear this dog go, oh, arr, arr, look over, and he's spinning on the ground. And the mule just kicked him, and he probably seen that dog 100 times. Tell you another story. A couple years ago, I was down training mules and working cattle down there at the Randy's Ranch down there, and at the Andrada.
Andrada, yeah.
Yeah, and I was riding a nice 28-year-old mule, y'all. I know 22 years old. And all of a sudden, this mule had seen 100 dogs, if he's seen 1,000, seen cattle, seen all kinds of stuff. Okay, I was riding him along, nice quiet mule. All of a sudden, out of the bushes come a dog, my dog. Man, it jumped and scared. That mule went to bucking and blowing. It scared him. It happens. Okay, can we do anything about keeping the mule from attacking the dog? No. Put your dog up when you're working with a mule. Either that or get ready for a lot of work. And even then, you can't guarantee, just like the 2 episodes I just told you about, you can't guarantee the dog ain't going to get kicked or bit or both. Okay. Pretty much all my dogs have been kicked or bit sometime or another by a mule or a cow or something. Happens. Okay. So I don't know of any way to fix it. You know, it's a temporary fix. Would be the come along rope, and as you're leading with the come along rope, as soon as the mule pinned his ears or looked toward that dog, bump, bump, bump. But again, it's not a permanent fix because God made that a predator and this mule a prey animal, and it's natural for that prey animal to want to attack that predator to keep him away from him.
All right, let's keep moving along here. Next question. This one comes from Deborah. She says, I bought a mule at auction. Have found out that he has major separation issues when stalled. He tries to jump out of the stall over the door, so we put up a tubular gate over his stall door so he couldn't get hurt. When the other ladies at the barn took their horses out, he reared back, put his legs through the gate, even though there were other horses still in the barn. Yesterday, we installed a rubber mat to the metal gate so he couldn't lunge through it. Today, he tried to get over the stall wall, knocking down the fan, and was resting up there. The barn owner hobbled him and tied him in the stall. He seems to respect the hobbles and being tied. I don't want to get him to get hurt, and I don't want someone else to get hurt. I don't want to be kicked out of the barn. I need suggestions. This one's from Deborah, Steve.
Okay, so, basically, every equine has, quote, separation anxiety because it's the herd mentality. I want to be with my buddies, and especially a mule with a horse. A mule is extremely subservient to horses. You have horses around, that mule will do anything it can, which you have seen, anything it can to be with those horses. And can you change that? No. It's the disposition of the mule. Why do you think there's no horses at the Grand Canyon? Yep. One of the reasons is because the horses cause so much hysteria when it comes to the mules. Them mules will want to follow those horses. Now, hobbling and tying them, yeah, that's a temporary fix. Can you do something else? Yeah, you've done okay by putting up the rubber mat and stuff like this, but I have literally seen them jump out top of walls and climb over top. It's amazing. But here's what I would do. I would take a dog collar with a vibrator, not the electric shocker, which is okay too, okay? But one with a vibrator, I'd add an extra strap to it so you can get it around the mule's neck. And then as soon as the mule started to blowing up, you give them that vibration. And that vibration gets around their neck and it tells them don't be doing that. But here's going to take some training on your part, okay? It's going to take some training on your part. In other words, you don't want to be close, but you want to be where it kind of out of sight. And as soon as they start throwing a fit, you start hitting the buzzer. Now, you don't want to have to be there all the time. So as soon as the mule starts getting to where he stays quiet and not wanting to jump around a lot, then you can start just putting a collar only around his neck, and he'll think it's the shock collar, i.e. the vibrating collar, and he will start settling down. Now, I've seen it on a rare occasion to where some mules will just not want to pay attention to horses at all. But that is 1 out of 1,000 it's going to happen. If you got a bunch of horses around, it's going to be extremely tough for that mule doing things. So give that vibrating collar a try. I forget the name of the one that I use. I've got one that I use on my dogs, and it just vibrates because they're border collies and they're very sensitive. So it just vibrates. So when they're puppies and I call them off of a cow or something, and they want to stay with the cow because they want to work it, but I just hit them with that little vibration, and it's enough to have them come off and come to me. But there's a lot of good collars out there. If you want to text me at 602-999-6853, I'll get you the name of my collar. But that would be the only other thing. Other than that, here's the last thing, and this works very well, is buy an electric fence and put it around the inside of the corral so that when the mule goes to go over toward that corral panel, he hits the electric fence. And you can put that up high and a couple strands along the bottom. And when you do that, he's going to want it to stay put. Unfortunately, both of those are really hard on the animal, but you don't have much other choice.
All right, very good. We'll hop back over to all of our friends who are hanging out for us. Hey, if you're watching, so glad that you're here. Put your name, where you're watching from, in the comments section. We'd love to say hello. On next to that, any and every mule or donkey question you got, you can put those in the comment section as well. And if you haven't yet, if you're on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. Heck, if you want to, you can share this particular show with anybody else. And if you're on Facebook, click that like button and share as well. Just would love that support. We do these for free, and the only thing that we ask in return is that you come, bring your questions, and just make sure to tell other people about it. We've got, let's see, Thomas is hanging out. He says, or we already talked to Thomas. Billy says, how is the mammoth donkey population doing right now? I heard a while ago that they were dwindling to a point of concern. Thank you for your live streams, gentlemen.
Actually, the mammoth donkey is doing exceptionally well. They're probably, I tell you, I've had some clinics, Dave, in the past where we've had equal amounts of donkeys and mules together. Oh. Donkeys are extremely popular right now. And the mammoths, depends on what mammoth you're talking about, but pretty much all the mammoth, and that is actually a size difference. That's all. It depends on who you talk to on the size, but they're doing very well.
Very good. Awesome. Thanks for the question, Billy. Let's see here. Mark is watching from Anza, California. Tad, hot and humid. Monsoons. Yeah, we've got those happening here too. Hey, Captain is watching. Chaplain Steve, Chaplain Dave. Good afternoon. Good to see you, Captain. There. Great to have you here. Christy is watching from Florida. Tamar says hello from near Casino in Australia. So gone international again. I love watching and listening to your clinics, learning so much. Would love if you came to Australia for a clinic. Well, that wouldn't be the first time, Tamar. Steve was there just ahead of the COVID, like almost got stuck in Australia type of, like right when it hit. So 2020 was the last time, and probably, or the most recent time, but probably won't be the last time there. We've got a lot of great friends that we've made in Australia, so much so they've come over here, and Steve's traveled over there. So be on the lookout.
Hey,
Hannah
Dave,
is, what's that?
Tamar just bought full saddle, tack, breech and breast collars, all that stuff. And matter of fact, I'll be calling her as soon as this broadcast is over with. I got to go over some things with her. As you know, Dave, I call everybody.
I know you do.
You buy something from me, I call you.
I know you do.
I call everybody.
I don't know if people realize, so Steve doesn't need to do this. Steve is supposed to be retired. Steve is one of these guys that you keep learning new things about. And if you go back into our archives, you'll find at least one video where Steve is decked out in full firefighter outfit. And you can go find that video and find out why if you don't know. Steve had an auto body shop for decades, and in the, what was it, like the late 90s or early 2000s, started doing the mule thing full time. And folks will say, you know, what type of mules do you have? Well, Steve doesn't have mules on the ranch anymore. He's living the dream. He's traveling. He's getting to meet people all over the country, and wherever he goes, he's taking his computer and we're doing these shows. And so if you listen to him talk, like, he doesn't need to do this, but he wants to do it because of all the people that invested in your life, Steve, then taking what they gave to you and then passing it along in ways that they would have never dreamed could have been possible. And so for us to go to Australia, or for folks to come out to Arizona, or we've got Montana coming up in September, for y'all to be able to meet up with Steve in Montana or in Shelbyville, Tennessee, it's just an extension of why Steve calls. He wants folks to be able to enjoy the animals and then pass on the information and pass on the training and the techniques and the learning and the stories, to your kids and to the people who are most important to you. So yeah, Steve calls everyone, and it's just an extension of why he continues to do it. Hannah is watching from Denelin, Ocala, Florida, where there are thunderstorms, says, love you. Love you back, Hannah. Silky, question for you. I'm training a mule, and straight from the beginning, he had problems moving out even on a lead rope. He got much, much better at walking out. I started riding him, but it is hard to get him to walk out. He is happy to follow his mule or horse friend, though. Any ideas? This is a great question, Steve. What would you say to Silke?
Do you have spurs? Yes, you have to ride spurs, folks. Everybody needs to be riding spurs. Ride spurs. That's what helps them to move out and go forward. Will they try to depend upon their horse buddy? Yes, I was just talking about that. Will they try to depend upon their mule buddies? Absolutely. I was just talking about that. But if you want to get one to do what you want them to do, you have to have an accelerator. And that accelerator comes from your legs. And that accelerator comes from your spurs. So you're going to ask with your calf, tell with the side of your stirrup, and demand with your spur. Do you have to use the spurs all the time? No, you just use your leg. But the spur backs up what you say. Now, if you say, I don't want to use spurs, listen, you'll get to the one day when that mule won't even leave the hitching post, or that mule won't want to leave the trailer, or the mule won't want to leave another buddy. You've got to have spurs to encourage them to go forward. Okay? That's what you have to do.
Awesome. The other thing, in addition to that, if you haven't done your groundwork, you need to do that groundwork too. And I'm obviously Steve saying the spurs and everything like that, but wouldn't we want to make sure that we do that too, Steve, and do
Oh yeah,
foundational work and make sure that we can control on the ground and get them to move on the ground as well?
absolutely. That ground communication. She says she was most likely trying to lunge him, and a mule just don't see any sense in lunging. And that's why I suggest for folks not to lunge. And here it comes again, when it comes down to groundwork, what we have on the ground is what we're going to have in a saddle. So what do we have in a saddle? What we had on the ground. Okay. So by using the come along rope and teaching forward motion, you can do that. Okay. And so as you all see it right here, what you had on the ground is what you got in the saddle.
Awesome. Let's continue on here. Linda says, "Hey Dave, if you howdied back at me, I missed it because of an internet glitch. If you don't mind, I sure could use a howdy again." All right, I've never done this. Howdy! There you go. That one's for you, Linda. Please don't judge, just love. Judy is watching, 79 in Breezy in Ubly, Michigan. Always appreciating your knowledge you both share. I've got the knowledge that Steve has dropped. Steve's got the knowledge and the understanding. So it's a very, very big distinction there, and we're grateful for it. Miss Backwoods, here is a question. Our rescue mule is supposed to be here on August 3rd. How should you approach her at first? We have been watching your DVDs and have been learning a lot. Good question.
As soon as she comes off of that trailer, put the come along hitch on and hang the halter on a nail on the wall and use that come along hitch right then. You take her out of the trailer and go over and start getting to know her. Spend maybe 20 minutes, a half an hour leading her around. Go around in circles, picking up all the feet, things like that. And when you put them in a small pen, a 20 by 20 pen, okay? And don't turn them out in a big pasture. Don't turn them out with their buddies. Put them in a small pen and spend this next 6 months getting to know them. Hear that? 6 months. 4 to 6 hours of training a day. That's all. The rest of the time can be used, as leading them around and a good brushing.
Great. Continuing on here, we've got Trace says, "Hi, Steve and Dave. 37 here this morning in Lowood, Queensland, Australia. Good to be here." That gets the Glockenspiel. Carl from Cedar City, Utah, where it is warm and cloudy with threat of thunderstorms. So they're hanging that threat over you. Will be good to get out again today. Big journey. Larry, Ryan, and Rose are watching from Franklin County, Virginia. 83 degrees with showers. Thank you for being here for us. You got it. Karen, 80 degrees in Central Virginia. Always enjoy catching y'all live. We like being caught live. Better alive than dead. Rory says, "Well said. Grew up with a horse trader. Same level of honesty as a used car salesman." Pat's watching from West Texas. Jackie says, "We have a Sport Dog brand training collar. Works great." So she's recommending the Sport Dog brand training collar. Mike is watching from Neillsville, Wisconsin. Sunny and 70s. Jim from Kansas. Lydia from Ontario, Canada. Getting some rain coming in. Kevin says, "My 14-month-old mule won't stand still in the stall. I like to keep the stall windows open for him, but he paces and whacks his head a lot. Any tips on stopping him from pacing so much?"
14 months old? No. He wants to get out and do things, Let him pace. That's good exercise for him and this sort of thing. Has he bumped himself? Yeah, he'll learn not to bump himself. And will he start pacing himself? Yeah, he'll be pacing. Pretty soon he'll get to where he'll stop. Now, I have taken advantage of that. Yeah, this is what I've done. I put the Surcingle on him, as we saw in the first beginning of the program, and I put the halter on him, and I turn him loose in that pen, and as long as it's a safe pen, a safe one, and let him go back and forth, teaching himself to drop his head, get his nose on the vertical, and take advantage of the training tool.
Awesome. Next question. This one's from David O'Brien. He said, so David, if you're still here, you're going to get an email from me too. When leading my yearling Molly out in the open with the come along rope, she starts out behind me, but within a few minutes, she wants to walk with her head on the side of me or even slightly ahead. What is the proper way to keep her behind me, or what is the proper way to lead her? She stops when I do and has a good backup. Thank you.
Good for him. No, it's doing good. Just a matter of timing, David. When you look over your shoulder and the mule, and you reach out with your arm, the mule should be that distance, just barely looking over your shoulder. Reach out and touch them. That should be as far away or as close as they need to be. Okay. Otherwise, it's your timing just to wiggle the rope and say, in other words, you're saying, don't come no closer or go further out, but just a wiggle of the rope. David's doing a good job with his mule, Dave.
That's good to hear. Yeah, we've had some photos come in, lots of comments, lots of questions, which questions, that's where the results start. So y'all ask your questions. Don't be shy. Vicky is watching. Hi, Steve. I'm going camping and expecting rain. Do you suggest a dry saddle pad to start each ride, or is the one from the day before that got wet okay to put back on her?
It's okay to put back on her. That one thing about my pad, it creates the moisture. And listen, folks, the wetter the back, the better it is for the mule. Now, when I say that, is that not only does that moisture give them kind of like a grease type thing, but it keeps them cool as well. So that it creates the moisture, but it also creates a way to keep the animal from burning his back. Don't worry about it. Just a wet pad is a good pad.
Steve, you wanted to talk a little bit about cinches. I thought it might be a good time to do that. Tell us what's been on the mind, what's been on your brain as it relates to cinches. I know it's something that folks just continually have questions about, so take it away.
Okay, folks, these cinches are designed for riding out on the side of a mountain. They have to breathe, and I've got on one side, I have elastic. You see how it I can pull it, okay? On the other side, it's solid. So what's the purpose of this? The idea here is the number one thing, if this ring goes past the edge of the cinch, you have over tightened the cinch. People are always asking me how snug or how tight. This is my very basic way. Because when you start pulling on the elastic that's in there, it only should go as far as the top of this pad. You see that? If it goes past the pad, you have over tightened your cinch. Now, there's always, well, what if? Okay, let me give you a what if. What if I'm chasing after a cow that don't want to be caught in a roper? Guess what? I am going to have that cinch really tight. I'm going to pull it right up, make it really tight. And of course, that depends too on what I'm roping, how big it is, things like this. But I'm going to tighten it up. If I'm going to be dragging something, I'm going to be tightening it up. So in other words, if I'm doing hard work, I'm going to over tighten. And yes, I will see this D-ring get above like that. Okay. But otherwise, this is your gauge. If you pull this D-ring up past this comfort block, this padding, you've over tightened your cinch. So it's got perforated neoprene to create the sweat. We were talking about that earlier. That sweat keeps it cool, and that sweat it's almost like using grease, so to speak, okay? And so the more the moisture on the pad and on the back, on the belly and on the back, the two of the tightest places, it's important to be able to have the perforated neoprene. It creates moisture. Moisture keeps the animal cool and keeps it lubricated up, okay? Now, this is Cordura, what the rest of the saddle pad cinch is made out of. You got a pocket here that you can put it in if you got a little extra cinch to put in, or you can go up and put it into your Latigo keeper. Now, I always suggest using the tongue on the buckles and not tying it at the top. Because if you tie it on the top, here's what happens. You got that knot underneath your leg. And here's another thing that happens. If you get into trouble, and I've been there a lot of times, and you got to get your saddle off in a hurry because the mule is hung up, then it's pop. You can pop it loose and you're done. It's a quick release. It's done. Okay. So you want the lubrication, like on that saddle pad we were talking about earlier, wet saddle pad. That creates lubrication on that mule's back. That's the reason the perforated neoprene. Okay. And that's the other reason is you want to keep it cool. 2 places I want a cool back. I want a cool belly. That's the purpose of that. So there you are. What's the purpose of this? Cinches having the elastic? 2 things: expand and contract when the animal is breathing. Okay. The other thing is to keep you from over pulling. You pull this D-ring up past this spot, you've over pulled that cinch. Okay. Now, what's the problem? What's the problem here? Okay. Let's look at this, Dave. You're creating a problem when you over tighten that cinch. The problem is the mule is going to want to protect himself. The donkey is going to want to protect themselves. So they know you're going to try to tighten up the cinch to get your fat butt up on top of the saddle because you're not getting in the saddle correctly. Oh, did you hear that? Yep, I'm the problem. You're the problem because of over tightening the cinches. So if we got on the saddle correctly, we wouldn't have to worry about that. But let's go back. When it comes down to this cinching up, you cinch up a little bit, walk your mule around. Cinch up a little bit more, walk your donkey around. Then you tighten it up a little bit more. You put the bridle on, walk your saddle mule and saddle donkey ahead a few steps, then climb in the saddle. Because here's what happens. If you try to cinch it all at one time with that animal standing still, he's trying to protect himself. That's all he's trying to do, okay? You can't blame him. He'll blow air into his lungs and boom. So what's the other purpose of me building these cinches like this? To keep you from over tightening and pulling on that mule. So don't teach them bad habits, folks. They've already got enough bad habits as it is. But as soon as we open that corral, we got to teach them that we're the herd leader and that we are going to make them comfortable. Okay?
Very good. Next question we got. This one comes from Megan, and I think it's a great question. She starts it off saying, this may be a dumb question, so no, it's not. It's a great question. But is there a standard way to tell the difference between donkeys and mules when the coloring doesn't give it away? We visited a farm and wasn't sure if the equine was a mammoth donkey or a mule. And I will say, Megan, that I have been right there with you. Especially early on when I was writing some social media posts for Steve, I would look at a photo that we had from folks sending in and I couldn't tell the difference. And sometimes I still can't tell the difference. So I think it's a great question. Steve, is there anything to look for that would help us determine the difference between a mule or a donkey?
Well, it can be difficult at times. Most of the time, it's usually when I see the whole animal together, I can see all the confirmation. I can say, yep, that's a donkey. But there are times that those donkeys got nice, keen little heads. There's times they got a big old long head. Same thing with the mule. Time they got kinky, a little kind little head. Other times they got a big old clawed head for a head. So it's really difficult to say. You just got to spend your time looking at confirmation, and then you'll be able to tell. But usually the best way I tell is the neck is usually stubbier on a donkey than it is a mule.
Awesome. Hopping back over to Facebook and YouTube here. Jacob is watching from Laverkin, Utah, but live up in northern Utah in West Haven. Well, thanks for when you're traveling. Thanks for hanging out with us, Jacob. Sherman says, thinking about taking my mule antelope archery hunting and using her as a decoy to get close to the antelope. Have you ever tried this, Steve? And do you think it will work?
Oh, yeah, it works. Yeah, it works very, very well. I've used my mules as decoy for hunting deer, for hunting elk, for hunting antelope. Yes, I've done that. Now, as you know, you can also use an antelope decoy that you put on your arm, or the one that pops up. That's another one too. But yes, I have a friend, Joel, up in Wyoming, and he is a shark on land. That guy is flat a hunter, and he does use his mules all the time for hunting and uses them for decoys. Now, that being said, get your come along rope on there and have it ready. So when you got a buddy shooting an arrow, that sudden noise and stuff like that, he'll start getting used to that sudden movement. Will he? Will you be desensitizing him? No. Okay. Don't forget about that, because one time you may get it and you may shoot 100 arrows and be just fine. And all of a sudden, 101 arrows, man, he blows up. It happens. It's flight and fright. Put your come along hitch on him, and you're getting ready to sneak up on an antelope. You got your come along hitches ready. Don't do like me. I've had a couple times I didn't have a come along hitch on. I ended up walking back to camp. So, yeah, the mule left me. So that come along hitch is going to be really important to you.
Wonderful. Continuing on, Linda says, outstanding, Dave. Minnie Pearl would be proud of you. Okay. Jacob, help me. Jacob says, Silka, pronounced Silka. So, Silka has done excellent groundwork with this mule of ours. Thanks for your answer about getting the mule to move out better. That makes great sense. Your time is appreciated. Awesome. Great. Hey, David Scholl is here. Speaking of Australia, it's your Aussie family, Dave and Di. We were talking about how it was right on the front end of COVID, David, when Steve was out there and just barely made it back into the country before everything got shut down. So we were thinking about you today. Let's see. Wild Burrow Man says, what is the best way to keep flies from pestering my donkey's eyes?
Well, we come around to silk. And in fact, I was just looking at a bottle I have here now. And
yes, Espana silk.
Yeah, Espana silk. It works really good on the legs, on the front of the legs, underneath the belly, off where all that fly bites are, especially on the front of the shoulders and stuff. But that silk is great stuff. Especially, the problem is the mule. I was looking at a mule today on a picture sent to me. All the fly bites. They are allergic to fly bites, and then the flies just keep coming back and create all kinds of sores. But that silk works really good. Dave can give you the website there to go to get it. Be sure to tell him that Steve said hi, and it works. By the way, folks, that silk Espana, if you want to keep flies off your mules, you spray it on the tail, and as the mule swishes his tail, it splashes that silk around there, and it really does a good job of keeping the flies away.
Very good. Let's see here. Continuing on. Linda says, regarding mules and horses, Border's mare, half Theo's size, concerned Theo at the gate and beat the daylights out of him. Rather than fight back, Theo climbed the gate and crushed it to get away from her. My goodness. Let's see here. I got a question from Catherine. Says, I have a question regarding mule prices. I've been looking for a mule that's within my price range, $2,500 to $3,500, that fits some requirements. The most important ones are, needs to get along with livestock, guardian dog, and goats, needs to be very friendly and love attention, something with good conformation, a solid training foundation, needs to have a good mind about it, and has to be broke. I made a post on Facebook showing what I was looking for and received very many rude and nasty comments saying I would never find a mule like that for a measly $2,000 or $3,000, and it would only be in my dreams. Well, duh, I've been dreaming about getting a mule forever. I was told I was being rude and dumb to even look for one with those requirements and that budget, and that I shouldn't even bother getting a mule because I would be better off with a horse. I understand that it would be hard to find one with good training like I'm hoping for, and I intend to train, if need be, using your awesome methods and training videos. Thank you, by the way. But is $2,500 to $3,500 really that bad of a price range? I don't have a lot of money to be spending, what with the way the economy is right now, and I have been wanting a mule for a long time. What would you say to Catherine, Steve?
Catherine, 20 years ago, I was selling mules for that price, but I was also buying them for $200 or $300. Now, when I was selling them for $2,500 to $3,500 20 years ago, there was also $500 or $600 mules out there for sale. But let me ask you something. Would you work for a year and buy the mule and feed it and do all the veterinarian work and turn around and sell it for only $2,500? No, you wouldn't. You know, that's nickels and pennies for your training. And it's worth, and when you get to training, you'll know that. You know, you might be able to find a 3-legged mule for that, you know, but it's next to impossible, gal. Now I can tell you, Dave, and I can't even think of what her name is right now. I was just talking with her. She sent me a picture of a big bay mule that she had, and it had ground tied, and you see the come along rope hanging down. And I can't think of what her name is right now, but she paid $300 for that mule. And I was amazed. Gorgeous mule. She's out of Missouri, this lady is. And she just sent us a video. No, I picked a couple pictures. I think we showed it last week or the week before of her doing her come along work. Now, can you fall into one once in a while, folks? Yeah. Okay. Can you go to the auction down there in Texas and buy somebody else's problems? Yeah. Okay. But you're wanting the same thing that everybody else wants. Everybody wants him well-trained, get along with everybody, be a puppy dog. But you can't get that for $2,500. And let me tell you, some of these animals, most of them that are up there for $10,000 aren't worth that because they're not trained. They just threw a price on them. What's trained? 10-foot circle, you can side pass, turn on forehand, turn on hindquarters. The cheapest mule I know about right now for sale, my granddaughter is going to have it out there. It's going to be somewhere around $10,000. But it is an extremely well-trained mule.
I think it's worth saying, too, that if you can find a mule with a good conformation, that's a lot of the work done already. What is it? Conformation first, disposition second. What is it? Training like way down the road.
Disposition first.
Disposition first.
Second.
There you go.
Training, color third, and then training fourth.
There you go. So find one with a good disposition, and we've got testimonial after testimonial after testimonial of folks taking an animal that started out with a good disposition and being able to mold that animal into the thing that they wanted. And I cannot speak as someone who is trained because I have not, but I can tell you that the sentiment we get from folks is that the journey of shaping the foundation of that animal is very, very rewarding for the folks who have gone through it and put in the work. And I would imagine it would be rewarding for anybody else that does it as well.
Yeah, but Dave, you got 3 boys. You got 3 dispositions.
Yeah,
you're a master trainer.
That's right. I've got lots of dispositions that I'm training right now.
Yeah,
and trying to maintain my sanity. Unfortunately, they frown on you legally when you use the come-along rope, so that ask, tell, demand doesn't quite translate the same way with raising these little boys, but, working on that disposition. Mark says, I have wore out several of Steve's cinches over the 20 years of using them, but you will never find anything better. That's a man who rides right there. That's a man who knows. Daryl is watching in Alabama, sunny in 96. Chuck from Clay Center, Kansas, the neoprene cinches work great. Love to hear that. Rory says you recommend using your cinch in both front and rear position. Yes. Loose in the front, snug in the back. And why is that, Steve?
Well, it's because of the way the mule's made. If you tighten up that front cinch, it's going to bring that saddle forward. That's why that back cinch is so important. It'll be straight up and down. But you look at the front cinch on a mule, it's always at an angle. And why is that? It's because the mules are hourglass belly toward their shoulders, and they're V-shaped in their shoulders. Okay? So that saddle wants to go forward. So yes, front cinch snug, back cinch tight. And remember, I showed you the cinch. That's about how tight. But it's going to take you to spend time to figure it out.
Brenda's watching from Wisconsin. Marty says, great points on the cinch. The elastic is great attributes to a cinch. Rory says, ask, tell, demand, worked for my parents. Rope to the arse. There we go. I would say we can neither confirm nor deny, but Rory right here is confirming. So if y'all have questions, find him on Facebook. Charity says, we ordered our saddle and tack. We cannot wait to receive it. We are ready to ride. We can't wait to get it to you. Steve, that's it for today. We got through everything. Anything you want to say before we're all done here?
No, I'm happy to hear all of my Australian friends out there. They've certainly gone through a bunch of hate and discontent for sure, especially with this COVID thing. I'll be looking forward to going back and see my friends and family, actually, Dave and Di. And I've got several others back there too. I'm going to be calling Tamara here in just a few minutes there in Australia. She just bought all kinds of equipment for her mule, saddles and breeches and breast collars and everything. So I'm trying to work out the cheapest, which I do for all of you folks. I call all of you, the least expensive way to ship. And I'm looking at that right now. So anyway, thank you very much, folks. We appreciate you. And Dave, always, we appreciate you. We're looking forward to doing more shows and stuff together.
Absolutely. Hey, folks, if y'all would like to participate in the next show that we're doing, I put a link in the comment section. I'm going to put it again right now. In the coming days, we'll be sending out an email. But if you just want to go upload some photos into the link that I just put, it'll ask for your name and your email address. I'll go ahead and I'll reach out to you and I'll get the necessary permission to use everything and make sure that you're good with it. But we would love to use the photos and videos you have of your animal so that we can provide some insight, critique. If there's something that you're working on that we can provide some help for, send us the videos and we'll put together a program here where we will go through and we will let Steve make comments on what he's seen, and then you'll get the benefit of those, but then we'll also be able to upload them to YouTube and Facebook. Oh, that's right. So for the next, here's something special. For the next 50 orders that come in, Steve was going through the archive, and he found old headshots, which we do headshots different when it's a mule. Come on, let's be honest here. Old headshots that for the next 50 orders, he's going to include a headshot in the shipping. But not only that, Steve, what are you going to do as well?
I'm going to autograph it to who you are, but you have to tell me, hey, Steve, include the picture in that shipment, and I'll do that, and I'll personally autograph it to you, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, so there's a place in your order when you're at muleranch.com where you can type in a note. Steve and Susan see those. So just say, hey, want the picture, or hey, send me an autographed picture. And if you want it to somebody other than yourself, if you want to give it as a gift or give it to a child or give it to the person in your family who you're buying for, make sure to specify that in the notes as well. So in the notes on your order, say, hey, send that autographed picture. And if you want it anyone other than you, make sure to specify that. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. It's great hanging out with y'all, and we will see you next week.
See ya. Bye.